Recording in progress.
Meeting to order at 6:20 p.m. Losing Tony Quarton, our district has lost a beloved principal, teacher, colleague, and friend. We ask that you join us in a moment of silence in Tony's memory to honor and recognize his 17 years of service to the district, students, parents, and staff, and the community of Pacifica. Thank you. Can you join us in the flag salute?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bert, can you read the letter conference? Sure.
The Pacifica School District acknowledges that we gather on the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. As guests, we humbly extend our gratitude to the Ramaytush Ohlone elders and community. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and we affirm their sovereign rights as First People. As the original stewards of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Likewise, Pacifica School District commits to teaching our school community how to be responsible stewards of this land.
Barbara, can you take the roll?
Yes, trustee Ball.
Here.
Trustee Smith. Trustee Elliott. Here. Trustee Hart. Here. Trustee Beal. Here.
The district records the audio portion of the meetings. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days, are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. In-person speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please complete the request card with your name, address, and the item number and submit it to the board president or superintendent. You'll be called to address the board and may speak up to 3 minutes. Virtual speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You will be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted, and you may speak for up to 3 minutes. Please note the public is welcome to provide comment to the board. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes unless extended or limited by a vote of the board. A maximum of 20 minutes, unless extended by the board, is allocated for each subject discussed. Brown Act open meeting regulations under which the board must operate do not allow board members to comment on non-agenda items or information you may bring up that is not on the agenda. Additionally, no action can be taken. However, the board may give direction to the staff following a comment. Okay, approval of the agenda. Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
Report out on closed session topics. There is nothing to report on items 7A through E. Through F. Approval of the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed on the regular order of business following approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
All in favor, please raise your hands. Motion passes 5-0.
Communications, LSEA.
Thank you for opening the meeting this evening with a moment of silence for Tony Corton. I speak for both LSCA and CSCA in sharing the privilege we all had of working and getting to know Tony as a leader, mentor, and friend. Both LSCA and CSCA look forward to working together to further honor him in our district community. Next week will be the 5th annual week where we ask the Pacifica community to join Patty's team. Patty McNally was in her 46th year of teaching in the Pacifica School District when she passed away in November 2020. In the fall of 2019, our school district had the honor of celebrating Patty for her 45 years of service. At that event, LSCA leaders all took a moment to share some words about Patty, including her support of the Pacifica community, her motto, Union Forever, her gift of always looking for the best in everyone and every situation, and of course, being the #1 teacher advocate and student advocate. In March of 2021, LSCA came together to begin the tradition of celebrating ourselves as teammates in honor of Patty and her solution-oriented teamwork attitude during the week in March, which coincides with her birthday, March 17th. LSCA is encouraging all our members to center some of their lessons next week around teamwork. We also invite all of PSD to participate and join Patty's team on Thursday, March 20th, by wearing colors or jerseys of your favorite team, school, or club. Sorry. On Monday, our bargaining team met with the district team, and after 3 full days, we were able to finalize our MOU for the co-location and transition process. We know this MOU is not exhaustive of all that may be ahead of us in the coming months. We are already in a very dire financial situation, and the current litigation and recall efforts will undoubtedly create even further strain on our students and teachers, hindering progress to improve our working conditions, which indeed are our students' learning conditions. We encourage the Pacifica community to remember that all of us working together as a team to share ideas and problem solve help us create an ideal learning environment for Pacifica students. Show your commitment to being on our team and working for the same goal by wearing the colors or jerseys of your favorite team, school, club, or group on Thursday. Thank you. Next Thursday. Thank you.
CSEA? Oh, virtual? Okay.
Nicole?
At Ortega. I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Now we can. Now we
Yeah, they can. Okay, I'm going to start again. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of CSEA Chapter 128. Our March 2025 Above and Beyond recipients are Darren Chavarria, paraprofessional at Sunset Ridge, and Janet Jackson, paraprofessional at Ortega. Both Darren and Janet are longtime valued PSD employees that have faithfully served our district at several sites. Darren's and Janet's dedication to the students, staff, families, district, and our community sets them apart. They are always happy to lend a helping hand, and they pour love and kindness into everything they do. Darren became a permanent PSD employee in 2010, serving as a special education health assistant in the SDC class at Ocean Shore School. Since then, Darren has spent the majority of her employment as a paraprofessional in the SDC preschool classes at Sunset Ridge. Janet started as a classified sub and became a permanent PSD employee in 2010, serving as a school assistant. For the majority of her employment, Janet has served as a paraprofessional, also in the SDC preschool classes, first at Sunset Ridge and now currently at Ortega School. CSEA Chapter 128 is proud of all of our above and beyond recipients. Our classified employees are dedicated, hardworking people who care about our students, our schools, our district, and our community. CSEA will continue to shine a spotlight on Pacifica School District's wonderful classified employees. We believe that the hard work, The dedication and the contribution of our valued classified employees should be celebrated regularly and rewarded regularly. Union proud, union strong. CSEA will be meeting with the district later this month on March 21st for negotiations. Our team looks forward to this. We have not met at the table with the district since November. We are ready to work together and to work hard to just continue to strive to make our district the best place it can be. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Student board representatives.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and I'm a student representative on the Superintendent Advisory Council. At Valamar, things are good, and just this week, middle schoolers are now allowed to eat lunch outside. And the variety show is coming up soon, and the students are very excited for it. There hasn't been any complaints lately from students, but there are many bathroom issues. I heard at other schools that they have a bathroom chart system. A bathroom chart system would be a piece of paper on a clipboard that would be next to the bathroom, and students don't have to write their names, just their grade and what time they were in and out. So if a student wants to go to the bathroom, they can check the bathroom chart, and if they see that 3 people have already checked in but haven't checked out, then they can wait until one is out and then go in. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Williams. My name is Mateo Verlanik, and I am a student board representative. Chloe and I met with the rest of the SAC on Monday to talk about some student concerns like school lunches and greater ventilation in the locker rooms. School lunches are one of the most prominent issues that most SAC members had something to say about. We have heard tons of comments from our peers about the food and how they don't want to eat reheated food for lunch every day. In our next meeting with the SAC, we are trying to include the school district nutritionist to talk about what happens or talk about what options we may have to change our menus. Some other good news is that the owl boxes recommended by the SAC have arrived at IBL and will most likely be installed during spring break. This will help slow down the gopher infestation in our field, and they are a more natural way of getting rid of gophers. We are looking forward to some upcoming events at IBL, including Publishing Day, the 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip, and 7th grade Yosemite trip over spring break, Junior Olympics practice, open house, our 2nd annual Creative Arts and Writing contest, and 8th grade graduation and other end of the year activities. Thank you and good night.
Okay. People wishing to address the board. I have Valerie Davidson.
Good evening. Two things that I'd like to raise tonight. I do have questions about the listening sessions and when the notes of those would be made public, as well as how those were used subsequently, or were they just kind of an exercise, just venting. I hope that the money was spent a little bit more wisely and that the suggestions in the listening sessions were used appropriately. And so I'd be curious not only to see the notes of the 10 days, but also how those notes were used by the board to maybe implement some positive changes and things. The second thing was in relation to the election the other night of Bridget, who I am sure is a wonderful person. I would just like to bring forward the fact that I had concerns that the other candidate was a stronger candidate and brought to the board some experience that the board is sorely in need of, both financial, as a teacher, as a parent, and his most pertinent comment that I took away and said, yes, that's what's needed, was the need to listen. And he brought that up in relation to a question that I feel was answered appropriately by him. And I had some concerns then about how the board voted, not to put aspersions on Bridget and not to put aspersions on volunteering in the PTO in schools, but to raise the concern that people who are working outside the district and may not be able to be as involved in, say, local issues can still be an appropriate selection for the board member with the experiences they bring. Thank you.
Kendra Vara.
Hello, Kendra Vara. I'm the parent at Ocean Shore. Really quick, I'm not even going to take my whole 3 minutes. Just wanted to let the board know that we sent you a document today. We hope it's a helpful document and that you will read it with an open mind and that we can all move forward together and settle all of this. Thank you.
Michelle Gray.
I may use all my 3 minutes. I'm a bit of a talker. Our community has some real problems, some budget ones in particular. We are not alone. I've been seeing lots of news stories come out about San Francisco and San Jose. Locally, they are all in the same situation. No one is happy about this. Some are bearing the burden more than others on the decisions that we need to move forward with, and I am sorry for this. It isn't personal, even though it feels like it is. We must support one another within this broad community. We should be able to have differing opinions and debate facts. Once, of course, we ride out the emotional distress wave, which I have to admit I was on a little earlier today. Making people feel unsafe, feel attacked, trolled, or breaking someone's big, beautiful heart is inexcusable. If it were about the kids, we would model what it would look like to be nervous, upset, and even mad, and model how you work through it by taking care of yourself, getting some perspective, and moving forward in a healthy way with our community. We would model taking responsibility for a mistake, something said incorrectly, and apologize with our words and, of course, our actions. If it were about the kids, adults would not be the example as to why social media can be a poisonous place with attacks and misinformation. If it were about the kids, maybe Ocean Shore would be partnering with Sunset Ridge on bringing that amazing Ocean Week program that they have, which I've heard is wonderful. And also maybe offering it to other schools. Maybe we could make that a district-wide opportunity for all the kids. I think they would really enjoy that. We wouldn't be pushing a lawsuit that, quite frankly, takes away from every single kid in the district. If it were about the kids and all the kids, and not just my kids or the schools that my kids are at, we would be partnering as a community to make the best of it. We wouldn't be siphoning the gas from the bus and then complaining when the bus breaks down. If it were about the kids, there would be a massive campaign to go to Sacramento to figure out better funding or to look for additional grants and things like that. If it were about the kids, we wouldn't be complaining always about the board and blaming them for things. And we certainly wouldn't have this nonsense recall. I'm so sorry, Bridget. You are wonderful, and I'm so happy you're up there. Are they on this board for the prestige, for the glory, for the riches, for the really convenient working hours? No. They are on this board to serve our community, and they are doing this selflessly, which is wonderful. And thank you for that. My kids have been with Pacifica School District for 10 years, and I have worked to not only help my kids' schools, but the community broadly. Even when I don't agree, which that happens more often than you would believe, I always try to find a way forward together for everyone. I'm sorry for the new families coming in. Your kids will have less opportunity than ours, and a lot of it is our fault. The wonderful Shar Hilo found a book on the history of the district. We are writing a page in that book. How is it going to look 6 months from now, a year from now?
Rebecca Slater.
Good evening. I speak tonight as a concerned parent in the district. I actually do want to recognize that Ocean Shore and Sunset Ridge have begun the process of coming together and working together. We just actually met yesterday and it was a very productive meeting. I also want to validate and celebrate what Michelle said about Bridget. Bridget is a dear friend of mine. We have worked together on the PTO. She is all heart. She is all passion. She knows a lot and she has given so much to this district already, and I support her position on the trustees. We now have to learn to live in a world that we were in 2 weeks ago. Yet here we are and not much has changed. The only way forward is to bring our community back together is through empathy, kindness, and integrity. Let us begin to work together in building a legacy in which we are advocates for all children in the district. I urge the Ocean Shore PTO to drop the lawsuit against the district now. And one example of how I think that this lawsuit is taking away opportunities for our children. I currently serve as an interventionist at Sunset Ridge. I received my pink slip just earlier this week. And while I'm not concerned about my own job security, my position works with virtually every staff member and every student in the school, helping struggling students, helping teachers to hone their craft so that they can deliver intervention strategies in the classroom so that we can maximize student potential and student success. I was hopeful that my position might be saved. People like what I'm doing. I'm getting a lot of positive praise. I'm seeing results with students. But if the district has to continue defending itself, I don't see how that's possible. And again, I'm not concerned about me. I'm concerned about the students that would be missing out on that extra support and the teachers that would be getting that extra professional development. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have correspondence. We have someone online? Okay.
Yeah, but she's on this week on the consent item that she spoke on earlier, so I don't know if she gets to speak on. You know, Amber, she can talk on 4 before.
She spoke already.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So similar to what you've been hearing, most of the correspondence that I've been reading in the past, especially the past week, 2 weeks. Unfortunately, it was mainly online and I shouldn't go there. So I had to write things down. People know me know I need to do that. There's been a lot of correspondence online wanting to contest the appointment of Bridget Hart to the board. A petition is circulating to force a special election for her seat. Board of Trustee elections are paid for by the school district. Past elections have cost approximately $60,000, and that's when it's on a regularly scheduled election, when costs are shared with other items on the ballot. A special election could cost the Pacifica School District upwards of $100,000. That trustee seat has a little more than a year and a half left before a regular election. That is why, when such a short term remains, we fill the seat by appointment. It is the fiscally responsible thing to do rather than cost the district $100,000 we don't have. For many years, Bridget has volunteered tirelessly working for all the children in the district. She was willing to step up even though we are in a tough situation, and she has done nothing wrong. She's only guilty of being our choice for the professional trustee. Unfortunately, a handful of parents who are upset with that their favorite candidate was not chosen are willing to cost the district $100,000 we don't have, creating a deeper financial liability by forcing us to have a special election, taking money away from all the students rather than waiting for the regularly scheduled election. So that was most all of the correspondence I read. Does anyone else have any correspondence or superintendent communications?
I went to a general PTO meeting at Sunset Ridge and saw the second graders perform. The doctor kind of gave an update about ongoing budget concerns and let everyone know the vision team is working hard. She reported that the consensus is to move forward together as a team. I went to Ocean Shore with Dr. Williams to offer condolences and observe Dr. Williams asked a number of teachers what kind of support they needed. And I met people from the County Office of Ed who were actively working on offering specific avenues of grief support. I want to acknowledge that the district has received another extensive public records request. While transparency is important, I also recognize that the sheer volume and frequency of these requests can place a significant burden on staff time and resources that could be better spent serving students.
On February 26th, I attended a special meeting. On February 26th, I attended the special meeting. On February 28th, I checked in with Ocean Shore School after finding out the news. And I want to thank Jennifer Mitchell and the staff for showing me around during the incredibly difficult time. While I was there, several counselors were available to help with the grief. So thank you to San Mateo County Department of Ed for providing the assistance. After that, I checked in at Ortega. There were lots of hugs and tears because Tony was my daughter's third grade teacher and we knew him for many years. My daughter's now 24. My prayers go out to his family and wife. The morning of February 25th, I checked in with Sunset Ridge. And again, lots of hugs and tears there. His reach was throughout Pacifica at 3 different schools. I read to the preschool kids for the Sunset Ridge Read Aloud Day. And I'm not sure how they did it, but they got Mac Barnett, very popular author, to be a guest speaker. So congratulations, that's really big news. And I just want to thank you for supporting literacy. Then we had another special meeting. It was more like a board retreat for equity. And during our retreat, we were able to communicate openly and align on our collective focus, the children. There's been a lot of distractions. We reaffirmed our commitment to leading the district to a more secure financial future, regardless of any obstacles. A healthier budget directly translate into improving programming, better compensation, and a balanced financial outlook for all the kids. And I just, when I was at the retreat, I just want to let everybody know that these women right here, and I all of a sudden feel really small. They're my colleagues, and we come from different backgrounds and diverse perspectives. And we don't always agree or vote the same, but we do respect each other. And no one can fully understand the responsibilities and duties or commitments that this job demands. And yet these incredible women have endured name calling, intimidation, middle fingers, racism, and hate mail. So I just want to thank all my colleagues and Dr. Williams for the strength that we share and supporting each other.
Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you. Appreciate that. I appreciate all of you too. It's been a rough couple weeks. I did make a couple visits to schools. I went to Sunset Ridge, IBL, and Valimar. I have to say it was pretty challenging. When I got to IBL and saw Kathy Alderson, we just sort of looked at each other, nodded, and was like, okay, okay. And then we just we couldn't talk. It was too emotional. So I absolutely empathize with everyone Tony was a big loss for our district. So I also during this time did attend a Star Vista District Support Webinar, which was nice. And thank you again to the district for all the support, for myself included. We did have a board work study, not quite a retreat because it's in this room. But that again, it was a really good, we really needed to get down to talking about what we were feeling and how we can come together and for Pacifica moving forward. Also, we had a special meeting regarding the pending lawsuit. And the other thing that I've been working on in the background is trying to set up a meeting with David Canepa, who's a San Mateo County member, a board member. He's now in Pacifica on Mondays at 4:30, or excuse me, Fridays at Mondays at 4:30, excuse me. But I'm going to have a meeting with him also to just continue getting it out there that our district needs more money. It's not equitable throughout the county. And I figure I start with the county that actually maybe has a little bit of money right now. And that's it. But thank you everyone and all for your statements tonight. Appreciate it.
I'm not going to add much more. I attended both of the special meetings, so the work study and as well as the special meeting that we had. And I really want us all to come together. That's where I'll leave it. Our kids need us, and I said at our work study, I'm exhausted. I just want, that we want to do what's best for our kids. And I hope that you all take this and talk to your neighbors and get the message out, what is best for our kids, and do what's best, not what will drain our district of all of our money.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to read something and then I'll make my comments in terms of correspondence. I had it up. Here it is. So this over the past 4 weeks, it's been very busy, as you all know, but it is, of course, work that's well received. Pacifica School District is a very wonderful place. The kids are great. I see their resilience. When you see them on the yards in the classroom, they always have questions. They always want to tell you a new story about their family, tell you something that is their favorite thing, their favorite toy. And most importantly, many of them want you to share in the joy of coming to school. Over the past few months, that spirit of friendship, of kindness, somehow has lost its way. I can also say that I have enjoyed my meetings with all of my trustees. I meet with them regularly, one-on-one. Also had an opportunity to attend the governance study session, which was not a retreat. It was a governance study session, and had an opportunity to engage with the board as they rededicated themselves to the district priorities, which you see on the walls in this room. In addition, had several meetings with our team, with Dusty Navat, who is our fiscal specialist that has been assigned to the district, in an effort to find any pathway forward that is going to achieve our priorities, which are making sure we enhance the experiences for our students while making sure that we consider some of the people who are the ones who sacrifice the most, and that's our staff. and also to address the deficit and make sure that we are mindful of the impact of those actions. I've had an opportunity to attend the core literacy training. Was very excited about that. This is something that was new to our district. We're coming back to literacy, learning about phonics, and it was an excellent training for 3 days. Also had an opportunity to meet with the PTO a few times from Ocean Shore to discuss proposals in terms of budget solutions they wanted to offer in order to address the deficit. And I appreciate the fact that they were forward thinking. Also appreciate the fact that they wanted to engage in conversation. I would also again extend the opportunity for them to have a conversation with me. What is very interesting is sometimes when you may not agree with a decision, as I shared with them today, sometimes it's okay to disagree and to be kind and to say, you know, let's find a different path forward without burning bridges, without name calling, not to say that they did, but also just continuing to put the entire district and the school first and our children first. So I'm going to read a communication from one of the members because I agreed that I would share their thinking. And this is part of the correspondence part of our agenda. Dear Superintendent Williams and board members, we urge the district and board to separate the 3% positive certification requirement from 6% reserve target. You do not need to draw from Fund 20 to count toward the additional 3%. This is not what we are saying. It can remain exactly where it has been for years with no activity. In the same way it applies to Fund 17 and Fund 40. According to accounting standards, Fund 20 qualifies as a reserve. The district only needs to report a 3% reserve to submit positive certification. As shown, the district is projected to exceed a 6% reserve for the 24-25 school year, and with Fund 20, the reserve rises above 9%. The district's revised second interim report shows that you have time to develop a solution that could strengthen the district's long-term position rather than rushing into the school reconfiguration plan and risking further enrollment loss. The unions have also called for more accurate projections. Reliable data is the foundation for high-stakes decisions affecting staffing and program. Taking the time to get it right benefits everyone. PSD is not running out of money next year, nor even close. The reserve exists for a true worst-case scenario, such as a state funding disruption. But if that happens to PSD, it will affect every district in the state. The current reserve levels provide stability, not urgency. Resolving the lawsuit through collaboration towards a settlement agreement benefits everyone. Ending the lawsuit with an agreement to work together on a multi-year projection creates a path toward financial stability without losing enrollment or dismantling a successful program. There is a solution here, but it requires time and a willingness to work together. And so what I truly walk away from is, let's work together. Let's not work apart. Let's not have conditions in terms of our relationship. And let's not place conditions on the lives of our children. We have too much at risk and too much to lose. So I'm looking forward to working together, to understanding where we are, understanding our differences, and making sure that Pacifica School District remains a force in education for all kids and not just for some kids. Thank you.
Should we go on to information items? Okay. Number 10, information items. A, EL master plan draft. Dr. Bowman.
Good evening, trustees and Superintendent Williams. I am happy to announce that part of PSD moving forward with your approval, we'll have a multi-language or EL plan for our students here at PSD. The plan is something that is required by law, and this moves us towards being compliant. However, the EL plan also has laid out instruction, supports, and what is needed. Currently PSD just went into differentiated assistance. And that means that a population of our district is not meeting criteria in 2 or more areas. Our long-term English learners and are not only having difficulty academically, but the attendance. And so we now move towards differentiated assistance, which provides support, collaboration with San Mateo County. To give you an estimate of how much this plan is needed and the instruction, our ELA long-term English learners for ELA are 83 points below the standard. And then in math, they are 104 points below the standard. And so this plan will help move everyone forward. Additionally, I am happy to announce that we are in the last phase of our ELA curriculum. It's being piloted. Teachers were trained this week. And why I bring that up is that it has an embedded program for our ELD students. And it also has a program supplemental that we can provide our teachers to help with our newcomers. Throughout the year, we've been trying to provide the support so that we can have them move forward. Some of our newcomers are using iPads with the translation. We have word walls, bilingual card, but more importantly, we've just received the roadmap for EL learners, and that will be a professional development for everybody in our district. So the EL master plan sets it up for instruction and support. Lastly, it also helps with our assessment and reclassification. Assessment is the LPAC. Students have to get 1 through 4. And from that, there are other criteria, and then they could be reclassified or no longer considered an English language learner. And the forms in this plan have been updated to make sure they align with Ed Code, and the process has been spelled out and the criteria has been spelled out. We've already reclassified about 68, 70 students between the beginning of the school year. Why that's very noticeable is that that's based on previous tests, previous assessments. And so we were able to give them the celebration and recognize their achievement. And so we don't have the new scores. They're currently taking the LPAC, and we're hoping to celebrate even more students meeting that standard. Any questions or clarification?
Curiosity.
Sure.
How many different languages are maybe? Out of curiosity, how many languages do our students speak?
32.
32. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a challenge.
Dr. Bowman, I'd just like to say kudos to your efforts and the team. The district has been without an EL master plan for some time now. And so I appreciate you taking the responsibility of organizing and getting input from the staff in order to make this happen. Our students will be better for it in terms of our understanding of our EL learners. And we now have a guide, a pathway forward. And so just much appreciation to you for your leadership and also for those who contributed to this document. Thank you.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. And then also just a quick one thing that I didn't say that I should have is that the EL master plan was written and input was provided. We formed an EL committee with teachers, classified parents, and they all have met at least monthly, if not twice a month, working on this plan and providing input. And they are also helping us with what can we do when kids enroll that are newcomers or EL learners? How do we make them feel welcomed? How do we not send them into a place where they may feel isolated? And so the committee has done incredible work and a lot of work. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Board of Trustees.
Item B, let me announce you. Item B, the 2024-25 LCAP mid-year update. Wondering why you wanted to stay up there.
So required by Ed Code, we have to do a mid-year update on our LCAP process. The LCAP is new and went into place this August. And so we only have data from the August to our current January data. And the summative assessments and different assessments have not been given yet. So at the end of the year, I'll have a much more detailed explanation. We're just in the middle of what's occurring that we use for the LCAP. The LCAP, we have worked with multiple families, the unions. We've had input meetings, 3 input meetings for parents and community. We had a special meeting for LSEA and CSEA. And we also have gotten input from our teachers and our students. And one of the things that has come out of the survey is that there are really, we did a survey of the students and teachers. And one of the things that has come out is that PSD is doing a lot of things really well. It also tells us what we need growth area on. And I've already met with Director Ladd, because one of the things that we're seeing as a difficulty is bullying and how to act when you're in that situation. How do teachers know how to respond? And so immediately getting the survey completed, it was sent to cabinet, and we're already meeting about how can we add those supports and how can we support the kids if they're feeling that way. There is also a survey for the parents, and the same information came up for the parents as well. And so I'm glad that we have that information and we'll be able to move forward with supports that the students need. To give you an example, the LCAP student surveys, it says 93% of them thought my school is supportive and inviting and a place to learn. I understand my school rules and consequences, 96. The adults work to ensure safe, supportive environment, 75%. My school provides students with the opportunity to use technology and computers, 97%. One of the ones that I mentioned, students are here to help each other when witness bullying. That was at 60%. And so that's a red flag for us that we have work to do. There are also, the survey from our staff was very similar to what the students and the parents said. One of the things that the staff is felt like they like 96% of our staff are happy and love to come to work each day. And so that gives us a ton to build on and how we can move forward. Also, my school is welcoming and encouraged parents to become involved, 98%. And so this just shows that there's a lot of good things and that we don't have any bad things. We just have some growth areas. An example from the LCAP, or excuse me, the survey for parents, 97% of the parents, and we had over 400 responses. 97% of them said the administrators, staff, and students at this school respect each other and differences, including race, culture, or background. 97% say our teachers are knowledgeable and understand their subject matter. Again, that's just things that PSD is doing at high quality levels. And I wanted to make sure that you hear the good news as well. As far as our metrics and our individual goals, they are complete but not final. So I have put the scores in, but please note that they will all change as we move through the school year because of the CAS will be giving out. The LPAC scores will be in. And so all that data will be in the end of the year report. But I can tell you, even within our metrics, our retention of teachers has gone up. I can also tell you that our students at Sunset Ridge are scoring higher within their groups and have made at least one jump in the either ELA or math and improving. We also have worked with the suspension rate. And from the beginning of the year, last year when they wrote the report, and this current time, we see a drop. And so, you know, suspension doesn't always change behavior. So we're looking at other restorative justice or other practices and mediation to help students. And at this point, it seems to be working, but it's always something that we'll continue to monitor. One last matrix is working with our attendance and our chronic attendance and our daily attendance. And the state goal is to get to 95% overall. And Director Ladd deserves a lot of credit and kudos, to use your word, because we are at 95%. So. Any questions? The presentation wasn't up, but it is on the agenda, and then the plan is there as well. Sure.
Want to go back to the suspensions because the mid-year data, can you just go over what's happening with these percentages with the mid-year data? I don't want to misread them, so.
Yeah, sure. So right now, what we're looking at is the referrals that have been given and the referrals that have turned into a suspension. We are tracking that at a much higher rate this year with the behavior. And so it actually, some of the numbers look like there's been an increase. It's not an increase per se. It's because we have that better data. So when we take the average of what's happening and just look at it as suspension, it doesn't give us all the information. But when we look at it as far as supports in place and behavioral referrals leading to suspension, our data is actually coming down.
I am concerned about of all of the races listed here, African Americans, is this 6.3% suspension rate? That's the highest there. And we don't have that many students who are African American. So it's concerning to me that is that what they're being suspended at?
So it's saying that 6.3 of the African American population have been suspended so far this year. And I agree with you, that number's alarming. And you're also see our long-term English learners who are already not coming to school and not doing well, they're being suspended as a higher rate. But this information also gives us the opportunity to train, to provide professional development. We are giving information about discipline. There's some, and this is, we work together, Director Ladd and I, but we didn't have a suspension tracking system. We didn't have a behavioral referral system. We're not in compliant with our letters. So as we move forward in making things compliant, it's giving us more accurate data. It also tells us that we need to do training for our principals and vice principals or assistant principals about what are those alternatives. And that's also in place.
And I think this question may be for the superintendent, because when I see numbers like this, especially given what our population of students, it makes me think what's going on with bias and what we're doing to train our staff regarding, how are we choosing to suspend these students and for what reasons, what behavioral things are happening? Because this, like I said, it's a red flag for me. I don't, especially given that there's not that many African-American students.
And so thank you for the comment and also the question. And it goes back to Dr. Bowman mentioned that it does give us data and opportunity to inform our professional development. Also, the type of professional development that is needed. We have had professional development in terms of inclusivity ongoing for years. And so we have had discussion about how we can tailor that to fit more of what does discipline look like, what warrants discipline. We've also engaged our student services director and also our student services, coordinator and director Ladd in terms of those conversations, as well as with our principals. And so it does not go lost on us. We do know, and we will continue our trainings, but more specifically to make sure that we're addressing the populations who are in most need as evidenced by the data, and also sharing strategies with our staff members in terms of how to respond where there is an area of improvement or opportunity to correct and redirect so that students remain whole, they remain in school, and that we see a sense of resilience and direction as opposed to being excluded and disciplined. So thank you.
The one other thing that we are doing this year, schools had like a kind of a makeshift PBIS. They weren't using all the steps and the criteria. Teachers, principals, and students have been working with Director Ladd, and they are attending those trainings and bringing back the information. So as we continue to have people trained, we're also going to see hopefully that drop. And we're not just having the PBIS training. At our principals meetings, we're doing training, and we're also doing like problem statements of this is what's happening at my school. And then we brainstorm and look at different alternatives. So are we doing everything? Probably not at this point, but we're moving towards that.
And just to underscore that there has been a difference in terms of our implementation and response to the data. And I can thank Director Ladd for bringing that to us. Very focused on PBIS and just a positive behavioral intervention and supports, and making sure that we have the training across the district. And so it just doesn't rest with the responsibility of the school leaders. It becomes the responsibility of the entire staff. And again, going back to how do we respond? What are the strategies? How do we de-escalate? And so wanting to make sure that we have the support tools available, the posters which outline what steps we can take. Also making sure that we're sending the messages to the students that it becomes a part of our assemblies, it becomes a part of our staff meetings. And so we know we have some ways to go, but we have definitely made huge progress this year. And I just want to thank everyone and also reassure the board that this has caught our radar and we have been responding. And so it's just going to take us some time, but it definitely is a priority, and a priority that we have been addressing.
Yes, I just have one comment on that. So this is one of the reasons why I ran for the school board, is because of the discrepancies in the suspension rates of the students of color. And so it's been an ongoing issue. But while we were sitting here, I was thinking, I had overheard that Jefferson Union High School District, and I could be wrong, was going to put in one of the options of their not discipline, their agreement, I guess, that if there was a student, let's say in 8th grade, and they were clearly on some kind of drug, let's say they were high or they were drinking, that one of their options would be to have a meeting with an outside referral for drug education. And so I'm just wondering.
It's called
a brief intervention. Oh, good. So we do have that.
We don't have it, but we know what it is.
Okay. Yes. So can we get it?
It requires
Gotta go to the podium. Sorry. You gotta go to the podium. Thank you.
what we're talking about when we're talking about suspensions and discipline is we're talking about other means of correction. And so there's a whole, when a student is having, is struggling with working in the school environment, then we look at other means of correction. And when students are struggling with tobacco, vaping, and then maybe alcohol, there's a process called other means of correction. And it's a training that our counselors go through, and it's a short therapeutic intervention that's probably 3 to 6 sessions around typically tobacco intervention on, what other kinds of choices they can make. And then there's also a brief intervention for alcohol. So we haven't provided that training to our counselors yet, but we can.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you update us, like, I don't know, at the end of the school year?
I know the LCAP report just sort of focuses on all 3 of the goals. Dr. Williams has asked me to put the discipline suspension rates and those kinds of things before you in the form of the MTS work that we've been doing. So I can certainly bring that to you next month. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Can I just make a comment? Is it okay if I make a comment? Okay. I just want to acknowledge you, Carissa, not only for your vision for a better and more equitable system, but also your follow through and your follow up. So you're an asset to our district.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to action items number 11, certification of second interim report for 2024-25.
Okay. Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Williams, and members of the community. Today we have an action item before us. It is the certification of our second interim report for 24-25. As you all are aware, our second interim report covers the dates from July 1 to January 31st of 2024. With that being said, I'd like to invite up our county-sponsored partner, Dusty Navat, and allow her to provide you with an overview of our report as well as a presentation for the evening.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Williams. It's really a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I'm going to let Joseph. Oh, there is? This is it? Yay! I love the control. Okay. Alrighty, so it's a pleasure to be here to present your second interim budget and financial report. As Dr. Williams indicated, we have some timelines that it goes through, but the presentation includes not only the district goals, but what we've been moving toward, but an update from first interim to second interim, updated multi-year projections that take us all the way out another couple of years. Implementation of the spending plan that was approved by the board in January, and then our next steps.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to go to, there's a public comment on this item. Is it online?
Our apologies.
I didn't have a
That's okay, I
card
can
up here.
pause.
It's online.
There's 2.
Yeah. I don't have a card for this one. No. I have it for 11B, but so I don't have a name or anything.
Tara Knotts is the first one.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So glad that the second report is out. As someone said earlier this week, sometimes numbers can heal. I know I wasn't the only one confused by the numbers over the last year, and especially the draft second interim report that we saw in January 22nd, the one that, all of the drastic cuts and the urgency for those drastic cuts was presented on. That draft second interim seems so different than I was expecting compared to all the numbers we had seen before. And now this true second interim report helps people see. It's still, not great, but the direness is not quite as obvious. Obviously built in your cuts that you were planning, but I do think people can get a sense for, the difference between dire, the state is taking over tomorrow, and some choices about when to do staff raises, when to add in other programming. And it's just, I think it can just be really healing. So I'm so glad. So much of the distress over the last months has been because everyone has different lenses. Some people think one way and some people think another way. But we all are here to help kids, and we need to be grown-ups. We need it to be about the kids, and we need to be grown-ups. And I promise you, even the people in the K-8s really do care about the community and felt like we were working to help the entire community, because it is not just about current students. It is about past alumni. It is about future students. And we just really want to come together. And I guess one thing, lawyers and all that stuff's stinky. But in education, sometimes when there's a big gap in what people view as a need and not a need being met, sometimes you bring in lawyers is a starting place to work together. And I'm so happy that some numbers can maybe help us work together. I just wanted to say I also have been the recipient of a lot of negative comments, and I am sorry. It's not fun for anyone. And I think it's time for us to have healing words. And Darnice, I love what you said. It was such a nice tone, and maybe you're in such a great position to bring us all together and work together. And I think we're all ready to just be a Pacifica family again. Thank you.
Next speaker, Stacy Lynn.
Hello?
Stacy Lynn.
Stacy, are you there? Stacy, are you there? Do you see her, Barbara? They're talking for me to do elevator.
Yeah, I did, but she has two names. There's two Stacy Lynn's.
Oh, well, maybe try to.
All right, let's try it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, it's working. I was cooking and going back and forth to my computer. I just want to say I'm very excited to see that the second interim report is looking so good. It is all about the kids, as everyone is saying, and I just hope that moving forward from here, looking at this, that it is very positive and that we all can continue to work together. And, it's turning out to be a little bit better than we thought it was. So thank you.
Are there any more online speakers?
We have 3 non-agenda item speakers, but not for this one.
Okay. All right, if you can go ahead, Dusty, thank you.
Okie dokie. That was a good pause for positive comments. Okay, we'll get our presentation back up. My purple hair is very vivid on these monitors. Did you guys notice that? I did not notice that. I don't usually see myself from the back. Okay. I know I was like, oh boy. Okay. So a lot of things that we'll cover, 20 slides or so. But most importantly, we'll do some comparisons from first interim, second interim, where we're at, those multi-year projections that are required and so important to forecast the financial health, and then the factors that are included in all of those as well. Just remember that the district goals, right, are always at the top. And so attendance, academic, community embracement, community engagement, and then embracing inclusivity and diversity. Our budget cycle, we are now at the second interim report. And so it almost doesn't stop. When we get done with one and then we work into the next one and the next one and the next one. And so we are at the second interim report at this point in March. I'll introduce some next steps, but we will be working on our next adopted budget for 25-26 fairly quickly as Dr. Davis continued this journey. So the objective of the second interim report is to show you the adopted budget, the revised budget, the actuals through January 31st, and then update those projections for what we think the costs and revenues will be for the educational programs of the district through our June 30th timeframe. It requires us to provide you with not only all those SACS forms, which is that long 120 some odd document, but then to present with you if we have a positive certification. So we have 3 options of certifications. One is positive, qualified, and negative. We can self-certify as a district. The county office can also certify or change certifications of a school district. It is the criteria of, will we have enough cash for this year and next year? And will we meet all of our financial obligations based on the projections for this year, 25, 26, and 26, 27. So it is both of those criteria as we move forward and looking at whether or not we are positive, qualified, or negative. I wanted to bring to your attention that we did get some new updates with the January governor's budget for the COLA, or the cost of living adjustment, for our LCFF student attendance programs. And so at first interim, we had brought you next year, it would be 2.93. It has changed to 2.43, and that is what is included in the second interim report. So a little less revenue coming in for our student attendance programs next year. We had a lot of questions about, well, are we a community-based district, or are we based on our student attendance? And we're still at the point where we, in the category, as we know, that all of the funding for the local control funding form is based on student attendance. So your property taxes have not reached the projections that they exceed what you earn by student attendance. And so you are limited to, in fact, enrollment and then student attendance. Just to give you sort of a visual of when we're looking at general fund revenues, because we have lots of different fund revenues, but general fund in specific, that 83% is based on student attendance. So the more often that kids come to school, that grows. The times when they don't come to school and we don't get paid for that educational program, then those dollars are reduced. Our federal revenue is fairly small. It is mostly your title programs and some federal special education dollars. State will be Prop 28, some one-time dollars still, lottery falls into that category. And then your local revenue is primarily going to be interest, donations, parcel tax, and that's the categories of revenue. When we look at general fund expenditures, lots of categories. There's 7 different ones that we manage in the budget. Salaries and benefits are over 75% for the school district. We have consumables, books and supplies, operating expenses, some tuition that goes out for our county kids, as well as just a very small amount for those capital outlay programs. When we convert those to numbers, so normally you see first interim to second interim, but I wanted to change this slide just a little bit. So you're seeing here's where we were at adopted budget. Here's where we projected at first interim, and then here's where we are now at second interim. Again, continually updating the budget. The budget is your educational plan converted to dollars, and it is always changing because your plans change as we progress through the years, as kids come and go, and all of those. Not much change on LCFF sources. We still have a pretty stable ADA projection for this year. And then federal revenues, we got some new projections for our title programs, and so we modified those revenues as well. No changes right now projected for other state. Lottery is still sitting where it is. Our Prop 28 is still sitting where it was at first interim, no changes. And then local changes, I made a change because we have a better projection for our interest revenue based on the cash that we have in the county treasury. So those are the overall changes from adopted budget to first interim to second interim on general fund revenues. As we're doing a comparison on expenditures, I've given you those categories. Again, we have those 7 categories that we spend our dollars on. And again, adopted first and second interim. Not a lot of changes in certificated. Some changes in our classified staff. I was able to find some savings in one of our special education programs from some some vacant positions. So we've made those adjustments. The same thing with those employee benefits that are directly related to those positions. I did find the ability to realign some of our LCAP expenditures. So that was a little bit of a change in the books and supplies category. And then we did need to raise the services and other outgo. That's where we have our legal costs. So we did need to raise those projections based on the current situations. As we were looking at our multi-year projections, we had some goals as we were looking forward, both for 25-26 as well as 26-27. Eliminate deficit spending, enhance our educational programs, and then look towards providing for that future compensation, as well as maintaining that board 6%. So in the multi-year projections in our second interim, all of these assumptions have been continued ongoing. We always update enrollment and our student ADA. Right now, we're projecting about a 94%. So that means kids will come to school 94% of the time. They are out 6% of the time. And that time period hits us mostly from beginning to school right up until our P2 time period, which is right about mid-March to the end of March. Is when we get paid for that. There are some already negotiated salary increases based on movement on the salary schedule for employees that have been here, and we always plan for those as well. Increased costs for utilities, medical benefits, liability insurance, same thing you would do at home, right? Some of those bills go up, so you got to adjust your budget as well. We've included in this for next year the staffing to the contract language. We've talked about that before. The co-location of Ocean Shore and Sunset Ridge, as well as the shifting of the grades 6 through 8 at our 2 school sites. We've also incorporated those special education reductions in our program costs that we've talked about as well. We do have some one-time grants that are expiring in our next school year, 25-26. So we've incorporated all of those spending so that we've utilized all of those in addition. The new parcel tax has been included in 25-26 as well as 26-27. It has been reduced from $1.1 million to $1 million based on some of the current situations with possible some exemptions. And in these projections, we're no longer using that to supplement the unrestricted expenditures. So these are our multi-year projections based on all of those. I didn't run out the numbers to a lot of zeros. It just ends up being a lot of zeros. So we'll talk about it in millions as well as thousands. So the revenues for the second interim to all of that, we have the COLA that is at 2.43, and then that new parcel tax that is coming in 25-26 as well as 26-27. The expenditures have changed based on the co-location, the savings that we are projecting for the 6 to 8 graders going to IBL, as well as those savings in special education. I've included the deficit spending so that you can see where we are progressing. We've met the guidelines of eliminating the deficit in those, as well as enhancing the educational programs by doing those co-locations and having the 6 through 8 graders going to IBL. Beginning, ending balances, all of that. And just to note that the unrestricted reserve is what we have to base it on, but I did include our Fund 17, which is eligible to be included into our projections for looking at that 6% or higher. I also broke out restricted because that is not part of what the reserve is and is not eligible because those dollars have to be spent specifically for those restricted items. So there's lots of factors that impact the multi-year. Of course, we have declining enrollment projected through our King report, and so those are included in there as well. Ever-changing needs of our special education students, inflation just for uncapped medical benefits, utility increases, all of those kind of things. And then those unanticipated costs that can come up that a school district has. We do have more than just the general fund. So I always like to include a slide that says we do have some other funds that are restricted for different purposes, deferred maintenance, your bond building project, your capital facilities, as well as special reserve for capital outlay or capital projects. Again, the certifications are based on not only this year, but cash for next year, as well as our projections for 25-26 and 26-27. So we always are required to present at least a 3-year. And when we're doing our analysis, we typically will analyze an additional year because we're going to be there very soon when we get to adopted budget. So based on the numbers that we have put together, based on the board's approved spending plan from January, We're recommending a positive certification for the second interim. Our next steps will be you to take action on that, and then we will start planning for our 25-26 adopted budget. The LCAP comes to you. We have public hearings that will come to you. We'll be taking another shot at our 24-25 with estimated actuals is what it's called. It'll be presented with the adopted budget. And then working on, again, those multi-year projections. Important that we implement, obviously, those things that we are projecting in 25-26 and 26-27. And then unaudited will come to you in September, and that will be all of our expected revenues and costs through June 30th that we work on in July and August to finalize those numbers for you. That's my presentation. Any questions?
I just want to make a comment.
Yes.
Thank you so much for all the time that you've gone through this over and over and over and finding little things to make adjustments. And I think there was a little worry after having a CBO here for many years that we wouldn't be able to have anyone come in and replace, but you've actually made it much clearer for us and really explained really well, I think, to the community over and over. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, are there any other questions?
I have a question. If we are needing to make this big change, because we have been deficit spending, how can we qualify as positive?
So the certification, great question. Thank you. So we can qualify as positive or negative, or positive certification, qualified or negative, because it is based on a 3-year span. So we're deficit spending severely in this year. Without action, that deficit spending could continue. Now that the action has been taken to make changes to the educational plan as well as the spending plan, we can certify positive based on a 3-year interpretation, not just a single year.
Thank you.
And then also, can you speak to the importance of having a healthy reserve?
So yes, thank you. So there's lots of interpretations of a healthy financial reserve. The state does set some minimums, and then boards can informally or formally actually raise what those minimums are, and most boards do take that action. The minimum 3% is based on your attendance levels. There's a 2% for larger districts. There's a 4% and a 5%, some minimums for smaller districts. At no district does that level typically pay for those operational costs. So when it was created, the idea is that you'd be able to make payroll for a month or two, maybe 3 months. That 3% would not meet your cash flow for that time period. Right now, there's some talks about possibly deferring the June apportionment. So if that June apportionment goes away and you were simply at a 3%, you would run out of cash because we just don't have enough to make those. So the board taking the action of having something higher. I work with a district that has a formal board 10%. And they keep that 10%. So that's the criteria that they use. So 3% is just a minimum recommendation. 6% or higher is where the board has chosen to keep those reserves so that we have the ability to have that financial stability and also be able to react when things change.
Can I just piggyback off of that? So how much is it? How much is our monthly cost to cover, that pie chart? Just 1 month.
I have to look it up. It's in here.
And then this might be for Dr. Williams. Do we know what the other neighboring school districts' reserves are at in comparison?
I don't know where they are right offhand, but I do know that recently I shared an article published March 3rd in EdSource where it mentioned about specific schools being in financial danger and on the list. And within that article, I believe it says the average is about a little over 20% for districts.
Yeah.
Unless, now we're not there, but that's an average. So you can go, north and south of that, but that's the average for our districts in California.
So to answer your question, so right after the multi-year, which starts at about page 58 of that big document that I give you, there's a cash flow document. In October, your expenditures were 4.5 million. And in November, it was 4.3.
So it's about.
So, yeah. And your 6% is right about 2.2 million roughly. So that's what the, what the concern is. We have to also consider when we're looking at those cash flows that we have those negotiated salary costs, and those really can't be delayed. You can manage your payments out on consumables and contracts and some of those kind of things, but there will be some demands. So that's a lot of times you go back and look at what cash is in order to determine where you should be at.
So for us to have a 2% or a 2-month reserve of our costs, what percentage would that bring us to?
That would probably require you to be closer to the 20%. If we're shifting from about 2.6 to up to about 9 million.
Yeah.
Did you have any other questions?
I was just gonna say that just referencing the work that has been done, just a lot of appreciation, and it feels really hard, and we recognize that. I don't want anyone to think that any of us feel as if this was easy, because it's not easy at all, and these decisions are not tough. We also leaned into the same article I just referenced, and just to paraphrase, it says that there's plenty of time. No one should be on the list. That is someone's opinion, because there's always an opportunity to make adjustments along the way before you get to the point where someone has to intervene and come in and then direct you in terms of what to do. And so I think that the steps that have been taken, while all may not agree, at least it is a step to address our structural deficit that we've had for so many years. And I think that's why it feels and it cuts so deeply, no pun intended, but while it feels, so hurtful, because we've lived this way for so long, and it does feel like we're removing something or taking something away. And so on one end, we understand that something has to be done to stop the structural deficit, to address it. And on the other end, we do understand that feeling of loss of what we once have. But again, as we work together, there is opportunity for us to rebuild. And so let's keep the momentum in place, and let's look towards rebuilding. So thank you very much for your help and support.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, okay, well, that was my next sentence, do I have a motion to approve the positive certification of the 2024-25 second interim financial report and authorize its filing with the county superintendent of schools?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Dusty. Okay, action item 11B. We have some public comment first. Linda Benares.
Good evening. My name is Linda Benares, and I volunteer as parent co-chair on CPAC, our District Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. Thank you for the opportunities our committee and parents in special education have had this year to engage with our administration and board to voice our questions, concerns, and ideas. There's currently a lot of movement and restructuring how special education will be provided next year. We know our budgetary challenges will persist. The pressure is not going away, but I am hopeful. In the spirit of collaboration, I'm here tonight specifically to express support for our special education teachers and staff and urge our administration and every board member to seek feedback from them to stand a chance at succeeding. They want to be integral in the planning and communication of these decisions, and many feel they are being left out. The possibility of consolidation of special day classes, or SDCs, remains worrisome, but I do hope that given the more positive budget updates just presented, this won't need to be implemented, as in doing so, we would be looking at students with more extensive levels of support needs brought together into one confined learning space with students with the most intensive support needs, which can involve any number of interventions, including keeping the students safe from causing harm to self or others. Every student in our district is unique, equally important, and deserves a safe environment conducive to learning. Every teacher and staff deserve the same. If I may just give one example of the impact our teachers and staff have on student experience in the SDC class and why collaboration and adequate staffing matters. My son Joshua is wrapping up his 5th grade year at Ortega, but I still clearly remember touring Dr. Bailey's TK to 2nd grade SDC before Joshua started kindergarten there. Dr. Bailey had a roster of 8 students, but only 3 were in the classroom at that moment because the rest were mainstreaming in gen ed. She was conducting a math lesson and the students were sitting quietly and attentively. There was a sense of calmness and excitement for learning in the air. Dr. Bailey incorporated different teaching techniques to meet each learner where they were at and to give each the opportunity to participate meaningfully in that lesson. Fast forward 6 years, I've known many families who've gone through this class, and I can tell you it is a source of pride at our school. Students often graduate into less restrictive environments, families feel good about the progress their students are making and the support they are receiving, and concerns are rarely escalated. Next year, if we have students starting kindergarten with a fraction of the current early intervention and preschool, decrease staff to student ratios, and bring more students into one classroom space with vastly different levels of support needs and educational goals, how are we going to provide this degree of mainstreaming? How are we going to avoid teacher and staff burnout? How are we going to attract new, highly qualified classified employees? Our district has made strides to increase pay and incentives, and Ms. Ladd has shared her vision for more cohesive learning tracks. But I fear making changes at this ultra pace without clear answers to each of these hows will be to our detriment. Please put a hold on restructuring special education until every administrator and board member has
Magnus Chow.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Magnus Chow. I have 2 children in the Pacifica School District. Ryan, who goes to Cabrillo, and Nathan, who is special needs and goes to Ortega SDC. I was extremely disheartened to hear of the proposed changes to the current SDC model and urged the board to listen to the teachers and parents to hold off on implementing these drastic changes. Every teacher and parent that I have spoken to are against these changes, and it bewilders me that the board is considering this and ignoring teacher and parent input. With the elimination of an adequate number of SDCs to accommodate the different levels of support, teachers will no longer be able to place the students in the SDC class that will most effectively address and support each individual student's needs. Students need to feel safe, supported, and have their basic needs met before they can effectively learn. Combining mild, moderate, and severe students into one class without regard to their individual support needs while decreasing staff is a recipe for disaster. Imagine that you are an SDC teacher and your students vary from one extreme to the other. How can you make a cohesive lesson plan and teach your students all while having less support with you in the classroom? Learning efficiency and academic progress will go down, and teacher frustration and burnout will undoubtedly increase. I've seen this firsthand in the past, and unfortunately, we have lost some very good teachers and staff. Pacifica School District teachers work hard and take pride in what they do, and they care for their students. Student and teacher safety will also be put at increased risk when you consolidate the SDCs, that there isn't enough support for the students. My son, Nathan, experienced this when he was 6 years old during his time at the Sunset Ridge SDC. Nathan was in an SDC class that did not have the proper support, and his teacher at the time described it as responding to one crisis after another. It was more babysitting rather than teaching, as there wasn't enough support in his classroom. I saw that teacher with the black eye after he was punched by a student, and Nathan was attacked and strangled by another student. The school district failed that SDC class and their students by not providing the proper support for their individual needs. Nathan never should have been attacked because we have documented emails and IEPs notifying the school administrators that there was a lack of support in that SDC class, but they were all ignored. I personally feel Nathan lost over a year of education because of everything that happened to him at Sunset Ridge, and I don't want to see that repeated to any other student. We live in a litigious society, and the district is opening up itself to liability by approving this change. Ignoring input from the district teachers and parents is negligence coming from the top. Any immediate cost savings would be lost in litigation, teacher attrition, and parents pulling their children out of the district. Don't alienate the frontline teachers, the support staff, and parents. School administrators should be working with teachers and parents to make decisions that impact our communities. We need to set the SDCs up to succeed.
Do we have any speakers online for item 11A or 11B? Excuse me. Okay. Dr. Torres, if you could go ahead.
Evening. Good evening. I'm not sure which one is working or not. All right. Good evening, Board President Bradal, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, we would like to bring forth a recommendation to approve the hiring of Martha Ladd, the current Interim Director of Special Education and Student Services Department, as the Director of Special Education and Student Services Department for the 2025-2026 school year. Martha Ladd has been selected as the new Director of Special Education and Student Services for the school year 2025-2026. Ms. Ladd has over 25 years of experience in leadership, special education, elementary education, and student services. Her leadership experience in her previous school district include leading implementation of school-wide positive behavior intervention and supports process in the district 22 to 24, developing comprehensive MTSS handbook, and led leadership training in the implementation of the whole child domain of the MTSS framework. Implementation of the full inclusion preschool through the Inclusive Early Education Expansion Program grant and expanded mental health, wellness, and behavior programs through state and federal grants, including participating in the Mental Health Student Services Act grant at the county. This past current school year, Ms. Ladd held the Interim Director of Special Education and Student Services position in the Pacifica School District. During this time, Ms. Ladd has successfully contributed to improving both areas of special education and student services in our school district. For special education, her leadership has been key in planning and preparing for the development of a two-track special day class program, preschool through 5th grade at 2 elementary schools, and 6th through 8th grade special day class programs at Ingrid B. Lacey Middle School, and the development of an AM/PM preschool program. For student services, Ms. Ladd has collaborated with other departments to prepare for online enrollment. As a senior cabinet member, Ms. Ladd has supported and collaborated with the Budget Collaborative Committee to improve the fiscal outcome of our school district, and has contributed greatly to the leadership work in the Pacifica School District. Ms. Martha Ladd holds a master's in educational administration from San Francisco State University, a clear California Administrative Service credential, a multiple subject clear credential, and a Bachelor of Arts in History from the University of Connecticut. Additional professional development that Ms. Ladd has is she's participated in the AXA Special Education Academy, Community Resiliency Teacher Training. She has provided workshops to teachers, counselors, and families. She has participated in MTSS Professional Learning Institute in San Diego. She's participated in the AXA Summer Leadership Institute for Principals at UCLA. She has participated in the CAST Universal Design Learning Summit in Boston. And currently, she's attending sessions for the Access Student Services Academy to further improve her knowledge in the area of student services. We are excited to welcome Ms. Martha Ladd to the Pacifica School District as Director of Special Education and Student Services. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve Pacifica School District to hire Martha Ladd as the Director of Special Education and Student Services for the school year 2025-2026.
Are there any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the hiring of Martha Ladd as Director of Special Education and Student Services? Do I have a second? Speech.
Thank you, Dr. Torres, for those kind words. I'm really excited to be here in Pacifica. I had a really great career in Cabrillo, and I'm excited to bring all that experience here. Actually, there's a gentleman here. I taught his son, and yeah, in second grade. And so, but anyway, yeah. But anyway, it's really exciting to be here. We do have a lot of great work to continue, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Director Ladd. We are so fortunate to have you. You stepped in as an interim at a time where we were in transition, and we are just so grateful for your responsiveness. And I know we have a lot of work to do. You are up for the task, but you have done some remarkable work here, and we are very appreciative of it. And thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you.
Okay. Item C, the Big Lift, Inspiring Summer Certificate and Classified Job Descriptions. Dr. Torres.
This year, we have been the recipients of the Big Lift Grant. As part of the grant, there is a Big Lift Inspiring Summer for Students, which includes several Big Lift grant-funded positions. 2 of those positions are certificated, and those are the academic teacher and the instructional coach of the Big Lift Inspiring Summer. We have composed draft job descriptions for your review and approval. We have also met with our labor partner, LSEA, who has agreed to an MOU regarding these positions. One additional Big Lift Inspiring Summer position is the program assistant, which is a classified position. We are currently working with CSEA to come to an agreement. All 3 positions are critical in delivering a quality Big Lift Inspiring Summer program. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the Pacifica School District to approve the job descriptions for the new certificated and classified positions of the Big Lift Inspiring Summer to support the implementation of the Big Lift Grant.
Okay, are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the hiring of staff described for the Big Lift Inspiring Summer Program and approve the related job descriptions presented? Do I have a second?
I'll second. Motion passes.
Okay, item D, Transportation Plan. Dr. Ladd.
Good evening. Tonight, I am presenting the Pacifica School District's Transportation Plan for your approval. Ed Code Section 39800.1, as well as Section 41800 states that a condition of receiving apportionments under Section 41850.1, a local educational agency shall develop a plan describing transportation services it will offer its pupils. Board Policy 35400 provides for the safe and efficient transportation of students to and from school as necessary to ensure student access to their education program, promote regular attendance, and reduce tardiness. The board policy weighs student and community needs against the cost of providing such services. The transportation plan that is recommended is economical, environmentally sustainable, and appropriate means of providing transportation services. The district transportation plan outlines services provided to the students belonging in the following subgroups: transportation for attending school via the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, for students with disabilities who meet the transportation eligibility criteria through their individual education plan, transportation for unduplicated students, which is defined as 1, English learners, 2, meet the income or categorical eligibilities requirements under the National School Lunch Program, or 3, foster youth. The district participates in the SamTrans Youth Unlimited program and distributes passes for all eligible students and families that are interested. Are there any questions about the transportation plan?
I have a question. Do we have this in place right now?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
It's an update from last year's plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the transportation plan as written?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item E, resolution number 2025-03-12-A to lay off classified positions. Dr. Torres.
We would like to bring forth resolution number 2025-03-12A to lay off classified positions. Education code sections for 45101, 45114, 45117, 45298, and 45308 authorize Pacifica School District to lay off or reduce classified positions for lack of work or lack of funds. Due to a lack of work or lack of funds, certain classified services now being provided by the district must be reduced for the upcoming school year 2025-2026. The superintendent or designee is authorized and directed to give notice of reduction of services to the affected positions of the district pursuant to district rules and regulations and applicable provisions of the Education Code not later than March 15, 2023. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt Resolution 2025-03-12A to lay off or reduce hours of classified positions as indicated in the resolution due to lack of work and/or lack of funds. This resolution is being brought to the board at this time due to the provisions in Assembly Bill 438. These 8 specific positions are paraprofessional positions that are filled with contracted employees.
Do you have any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2025-03-12-A?
Make motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Favor, please raise your hands. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Item F, the minutes of January 22nd, 2025 regular board meeting. Action. Okay, during the February 12th meeting, we neglected to take public comment on the consent agenda prior to our vote. Public comment was made after the vote, asking the board to amend the minutes of the January 22nd to include a statement that 11 people were not allowed to comment on item 10A at that meeting. Do we want to consider amending the minutes of January 22nd to include the requested statement or some variation of it? If what we're thinking of amending it to would be something to the effect of, although the board limited speakers' time to 2 minutes and doubled the public comment period, 11 people who submitted comment cards were unable to comment due to the expiration of the allotted time during the comment period. And that was the meeting that was over at IBL. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Item 12, Board of Trustees, Superintendent recap and future agenda items. Nothing. No comments? Okay. So unless there's any other comments, the meeting is adjourned at 8:07.
Afterthoughts?
Well, that was the recaps. That's what I just asked for. Recap future agenda items and thoughts. You have thoughts? You have thoughts? Oh, I was looking up there. Okay.
I do, but we're just gonna go.
Okay. In that case, seeing none, the meeting is adjourned at 8:11.
You did good.